If you're from a small town like me, there's not really much to do, so you have to find some hobbies. One of my favorite things to do with my husband is go fishing. He does beat me every time we go, so I decided to educate myself on the subject. My favorite things to fish for are largemouth, smallmouth, bluegill, and trout. When you are fishing for these, you have to be aware of what kind of water temperatures, where you're going, and what bait you're using. People typically think that if you just go out and throw a worm from your fishing rod that you will be able to catch a fish. It'll automatically just hop on there. That might be the case for bill dance, but that always doesn't happen for everybody, especially me. For largemouth bass, you will want to go to warmer waters. They like warmer waters. It's in the lake, they're freshwater fish, but warmer temperatures and not real deep waters. There's two different types of baits you can use, live bait and artificial. For your live bait, largemouth bass like minnows and shiners. For artificial bait, they like things like spinner baits, crankbaits, and topwater lures. What you'll want to do when you get these artificial lures or baits, you want them to mimic the prey of the fish. That's what they'll want to go after. So if they see a shiny lure in the water that has the same movements or looks like their prey, they're going to want to go after it. Smallmouth bass are similar. The difference is for them they like colder water and deeper waters. So the temperatures are different from them. For their live bait, they like things like crawfish, but you can use minnows too. For artificial bait, it's the same as the largemouth bass. You want to use the bait that mimics fish's prey, like spinner baits, jerk baits, or plastic grubs. They'll go after those a lot. Another type of fish I like to fish for are bluegill. They are freshwater fish, so they're in the lake too. They like to stay near the bank in warmer waters. They don't like busy waters at all. So you're not going to find them or more than likely catch one in the middle of the lake where there's a bunch of boat traffic or a lot of people swimming. They tend to stay away from those areas. They like the slow moving water. They prefer the slow moving water than they would the busier water. The live bait for bluegill, what you'll want to use are things like crickets, grasshoppers, and worms. And for artificial bait, you can use them, but make sure not to get too big of a lure. Like you would want to use small jigs or artificial flies. You wouldn't want the big crankbaits or big flashy shiny spinner baits because they won't want to go after those. So they like their little prey. And lastly, trout. They're really pretty fish. They're one of my favorites. They are freshwater fish. They stay in rivers and streams, running water. They like that. And they prefer colder water temperatures. For live bait for trout, they like minnows and shiners too. And oddly enough, they like corn. I know it's weird, and I didn't believe it at first either, but if you have a can of corn in your cabinet and you want to go fishing, just grab that and go fish for you some trout. They love it. And for artificial bait, trout like slow rolling spinner baits that mimic their prey. They're lazy fish. They don't want to go after the big chase like bass, largemouth bass and smallmouth bass would. They just want to get their food and go. So if you ever want to go fishing and decide you want to go fishing, just pay attention to the waters, the temperatures, and location. And depending on what you're fishing for, the bait you want to use, and you should be good to go. It should help you beat your husband or friends or family every time.